Back in Florida, guys. What's up? Good to see everyone. And if your people are failing, if your team is not stepping up, like if you're watching your people the people around you as a leader, if you're watching all of them fail and fail and fail, you're watching them struggle and you're watching them not step up. The problem is not because they're lazy. Okay, the real problem is that they probably don't respect you. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about I'm going to talk to you about influence today. All right, I went out to California and I went and did a leadership training, and I've been having leadership at the top of my mind ever since. You know, it's been on the top of my mind. I mean, it's always on my mind, but it's been really on my mind the last week, last month, last couple months really. And a lot of people have these team members around them, maybe wives, husbands, kids, co-workers, and they want to influence them. Let me get this video right here. And they want to influence them to make a change in their life, to become better. And they're having a hard time because the people around them aren't improving, or they're failing a lot. Like they're just not stepping up. They're choosing to quit. They're choosing to give up. And respect is really the thing that's probably causing those people to not get back on the path. A lack of respect. When you don't respect somebody, you don't follow their lead. So before you try to convince, before you try to motivate and inspire, what I want you guys to ask yourself is if your team respects you. You know. So there was one night, and I want to tell two stories to you. So one night, one's a military story, the other one's a coaching story. And the thing is that on this night, it's hard for me to talk about. I watched this young soldier in his 20s, watched him run towards gunfire one night when we were in some combat, in a conflict. And I watched him run towards gunfire to help save a guy's life. And the thing is that the guy inside was pinned down, and he needed somebody to come help him. He keyed on the radio. He said, "Hey, I need one." And the guy in his 20s ran towards him and helped save that guy's life. Okay? Pretty amazing. One time I was on a coaching call with this guy, and he had lost himself. And he just hadn't trained in several years. He had got caught up building his business, and he reached out to me because he wanted to kickstart himself and get himself back on track. And he knew that if he would just stop being a lazy, do-nothing nobody, that his business would skyrocket. His business would take off. He knew that. Not only that, but he didn't even really care so much about the business. He cared more about how he looked at himself in the mirror. You know, he wanted to respect himself. He went from stud to dud. And he got on a call with me, and I remember we started working together, and he still had that residual procrastination inside of him. And it was like one of my first coaching clients. I think this was in the first year I was coaching. And he reached out to me because of we had similar backgrounds. Both had been in the military, and he had gotten out because of an injury. And when he got out because of that injury, it really messed up his identity. He forgot who he was, which happens to a lot of people when they get out of the military. They forget who they are. So he ends up hiring me, and I'm coaching him, and I'm kind of learning how to coach people at this level in this new environment that I'm in, right? And because coaching people in the military is different than coaching people as a civilian. People in the military, they have to listen to you. When as a coach, when people pay you, they don't have to listen to you. I mean, they pay you to show their commitment, but they could just not listen to you at all, and there's really not much you could do. So this guy was telling me he wanted to change his life. He said he wanted to get back into fitness. He wanted to run an ultra race, and he wanted to lose 20 or 30 pounds, transform his business by working on his productivity. And well, anyway, long story short is that we had a tough go, and for the first like 5 months or so, he was constantly wasn't like implementing the coaching that I was teaching him. And I would teach him to do something and he wouldn't do it. I would teach him about basically you need to confront the things that you don't want to do. And we would create a list and some goals and we'd start working towards those things, and he would just become a reaction to life. Like he'd have a problem at work or a problem at his home life, and that stuff would just consume him. So it took him about 5 months before one day he's like, dude, things were getting even worse for him. And I remember I coached him on signing up for an ultra race. So we were going to have like 3 to 5 months in order to train up and do it. But he had blown off the training plan, blown off everything. And when it came down to like the last 2 months before the race. And this thing is like, sorry guys. So, I know that's probably annoying for you guys. My bad. I'm going to keep rolling with it. But the last 2 months so we were 2 months out from the race. It was a 30 kilometer. It was basically like an 18-hour race or something like that. I think it was 13 kilometers, something like that. So it was 50K, so 30 miles. And he hadn't really worked out in years. And the timeline was crunching in. And I remember he got real serious about wanting to do it, and he asked me what he could do to get himself to show up for the race and get himself to complete it. So I did a lot of mindset coaching with him. The first thing that I did is I had him get clear about the deep meaning behind why he wanted to run the race, what it meant to him. And to him, it meant recreating himself. It meant changing his identity. It meant destroying this old version of him that was a lazy, do-nothing procrastinator. It meant earning the respect of his family. And we went deep into these things. And we found out why he really wanted to do the race. Well, we're 2 months out, and then he ends up getting sick. He ended up having to go to the ER, if I remember right. Once he gets healed up from that, we were 2 weeks out from the race, and he still hasn't really ran or trained. We did another coaching call on mindset. Talked more about the why. We talked about what the worst case scenario was if he went out there and did it. And the whole thing was that during this time period, he was really listening and trying to follow my instruction, right? And so it's in the winter time in Colorado too, by the way. So we have 2 weeks. I get him clear about his why, get clear about his purpose behind the race, start really working on that mindset. I had him reinvent himself. But what I mean is that I had him define showing up to the race and doing the race as a new person showing up. And between those things, redefining himself, recreating himself during the race, he actually went out and did the race and completed it. He should not have finished that race. You haven't ran in years, and you go out and you do a 30-miler in the Colorado Rockies and you complete it. It was a cool moment because I was traveling and I touched back down in Colorado, and right when he was finishing the race and I went out there, his family was there, his kids were there, and they all saw him come across the finish line, and he was a mess. He was an absolute mess. It snowed, there was a blizzard, he almost didn't make the time hacks, but he finished it. The point is that when it comes to influence, guys, the way you influence others, the way you get through to people is not by inspiring them. It's not by getting them all motivated and fired up to do what it is that they want to do. Influence is created through respect. The guy that I mentioned, the ranger that I mentioned that ran towards gunfire, and he saved that man's life, he ran in towards gunfire because he respected that individual. The guy that my client who went and ran the 30-miler in the Rockies, he listened to my instruction because he respected me. And I don't take that lightly. The thing is that respect, you can't buy respect. The thing that makes a person respect you is your daily actions. It's how you show up for them. The ranger that ran towards gunfire, the reason he ran towards gunfire to save that other person's life was because that person had been there for him the whole time in the Ranger Regiment, constantly looked out for him, was always putting his best interest before the leader, and he was always acting he was always serving that individual. And with myself, the guy that he respected me because of how I was showing up online. I was showing up consistently. I was pushing my limits. I went and I ran 100 miles with no train up, and he respected my results. He respected my discipline. He respected the things that I had done. So in your life, if you want to create influence with people, and if you're having a hard time watching the people around you, maybe you're watching them fail, or you're watching them not even try, you have to ask yourself, do they not respect you? And if you ask them, if you ask the people around you if they respect you, people will probably say yes. But if they're not following your lead and coming to you and asking you things, do they really, what are their actions saying? Do their actions say that they respect you? You know a person respects you if they go out of their way. If they go out of their way to do things more for you. You know, with my clients, the ones that put in the work, I mean, with all of them, I try to deliver and over deliver. But like my client out in California that I went for this leadership training, they're really putting in the work at an individual level and at a team level. I do everything possible to show up for them to the next level. And when you show up for people, for your people like that, when I see my people doing the work, I show up even harder for them. When I see my people doing the work, I respect them, so I show up harder for them. I prepare more. I don't want to let them down more. And so they influence me even as their coach. So this is a little bit longer of a video, guys, but I just wanted to have a real talk with you and help you guys create influence in your life with your kids, with your wife, with your team members. Maybe you have clients. The key to influence is respect. And the only way that you'll ever get people to respect you is if you respect yourself. You have to first respect yourself in order to get people to respect you. You can't express what you don't possess. You know, the world responds to what you think about yourself. So instead of seeking and searching to see if people respect you, why don't you just carry yourself as if you respect yourself and watch the world start to respect you back? Guys, I love you, and I really hope you enjoyed this video and a little bit different of a flavor today. And I'm in my office today, so I apologize for the camera kind of slipping. But the key, like I said, write it down. The key to influence is respect. Respect yourself, and others will respect you. Conquer all.